Hello, good evening, everyone. My regards to everyone from Mexico City today at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. It's 18 degrees Celsius in Mexico City and it's cloudy. 30 Celsius degrees in St. Louis, Missouri, where one of our speakers is from. It's incredible. This is our 9th program. And remember, we have one program in Spanish, and the following week we have one in English in original audio. So on YouTube, we have the translation of Dr. Samantha Arispe. And when we have English programs like next week's, we will have in Facebook the translation into Spanish, and the program in English will be in YouTube links, both from IDA Academia and in those who have been shared in the last minutes before we went on air. It's incredible, 9 weeks working, and we've had incredible guests who have spoken about COVID, how to protect yourselves, about the new prevention methods of minimal invasive. Now that aerosols are a problem, we have had specialists in saliva like last week's Dr. Stefan Ruhl, and we've also had directors of dental schools in Mexico speaking about the great issue of how would we are all going back to our clinics with this new normality, or like I call the new abnormality. We also had a program with 3 university directors, dental schools from the U.S., and it's so great to share these programs with you. And today we have some guests which are incredible, and we're going to have such a great discussion and debate because we've invited 2 physicians and a dentist together with me. Even if I'm hosting, I'm going to have to wear my t-shirt and defend the field of our beloved profession, which is dentistry. Let's watch a video and we'll be back with the speakers.
Observa el estado de la salud de la cavidad bucal mediante la detección de actividad bacteriana de una forma más clara, sin la necesidad de utilizar agentes externos. Visualiza placa dentobacteriana activa y no activa. Microfracturas, filtración de restauraciones, caries, desmineralización, valoración de estado periodontal, valoración de prótesis dentales, zonas retentivas de placa dentobacteriana. Auxiliar visual para el paciente. Funciona a través de la tecnología QLF, que incide la fluorescencia sobre uno de los elementos residuos de las bacterias. La porfirina que se revelará en el filtro de la pantalla, marcando un color más rojizo, dependiendo de la cantidad de porfirina presente, lo que diferenciará la placa nueva de la placa vieja, así como las zonas de gran actividad bacteriana. Encuentra esta poderosa herramienta para llevar a cabo todas tus mejores ideas dentales.
So we're back all together. It's glad to see you, Beatriz, Professor Beatriz Aldape from UNAM University, a great friend, a personal friend, and the association's teacher. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for your invitation. I'm glad to have you around. Also to my cardiologist, because I can't make him upset, because if not, he'll just get it with me during the following weeks. Dr. Manuel Carrillo Cornejo, which is a cardiologist from Angeles Hospital. How are you? I'm fine. Thank you for your invitation. Trying to get my knowledge into this. And a friend since we were children, Mauricio, isn't it? Sure. Dr. Mauricio Lisker-Kelman, he's a gastroenterologist and pathologist. And unfortunately, he left Mexico 20 years ago. Unfortunately for us, we were his patients in Mexico City, but great for him, good for him, because he's a researcher lately. Thanks for your invitation. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I believe that my relationship with Mauricio was not necessarily because when we were children, we didn't go to the same school, but his father, who was a renowned Mexican physician, and my dad, who was also Mexican, they were close friends. And with people who do not believe that I'm shy, well, just ask Mauricio about that. When we went together on vacation, his brother and him, they just played around me, and I think that being counting the memories, it was great to be friends as children. Great vacations. There's going to be such a great debate tonight. Let me ask production to please get their resumes. This is just a small sample. Professor Beatriz Aldape Barrios. She's a dentist with honors in Faculty of Dentistry of UNAM, specialist in buccal pathology with a PhD at UNAM, buccal pathology with master's in UNAM. She's a researcher, 40 years working on this, a professor and postgraduate of UNAM, and author of many national and international publications. Thank you. You were in our first program. You were with us. Dr. Mauricio Lisker-Kelman, he's a physician from Universidad Autónoma de Mexico. His residency in internal medicine and gastroenterology in the Instituto Nacional de Ciencias Médicas y Nutrición in Mexico City, professor of medical school and member of the American Association for the Study of liver diseases. He's also the dean of the pathology program in John Cochrane VA and Medical Center. He has received many prizes for teaching in physician, among them Premio Neville Grant of Excellency, and he's in the Mexican Academy of Medicine, and he has also researcher and author and co-author in several journals, scientific journals. Like I said, my cardiologist, Dr. Manuel Carrillo Cornejo, he graduated, we both graduated together in Stent. I graduated with him in Stent. One morning in Mexico City, he studied general medicine in Nuevo León. He's a cardiologist by Juarez Hospital in Mexico City, interventionist cardiologist in Hospital San Juan Militar, and he's a cardiologist in Hospital Ángeles Lomas. And whoever needs an intervention, I don't think there's a best cathetherist in action than you. And when you need some help, I can give you a hand. I already graduated. One day I'm going to tell you that story, Mauricio, but not on air. I'm so glad to be here, and it's funny because the name that we chose for this program just generated many comments before the program went on air, and just sharing, choosing this word dichotomy, who's some people feel like harsh. So if you can support me with the first PDF, please. Some people call it dichotomy to the commissions that are paid or who were paid to physicians or dentists for recommending a patient or charging a procedure twice. That's just really out of any medical ethics. But I wanted to speak about this dichotomy in general terms of the division of one object or concept into two complementary parts but separated. And therefore, that term is very appropriate. And we're going to be speaking during this program with your comments in Facebook and YouTube. More than questions, we're going to have lots of comments about this, is where does this deep division between medicine and dentistry is born? So maybe you could help us with that, with this first part, Beatriz. Remember, Beatriz and I were both dentists. Mauricio and Manuel, they're both physicians. So we're going to we're going to speak about this deep division between two professions, which object and purpose is to have a healthy patient. Thank you. Thank you for your invitation and sharing with Dr. Mauricio, Dr. Manuel, with you, of course. It's a pleasure for me to speak and not having many restrictions when you speak about something. So I believe that, in fact, there isn't a deep division because us, we started our first and second year dental school with basic medical subjects and classes. So what we have to do is, a dentist, we have to understand that it is much more important to have a heavier weight to these classes to really, and I always say this to my students, to become physicians of the mouth. We're not only repairing, but we're also going to, or we have to be prepared for prevention and educating our patients to help him to have an earlier diagnosis. So physicians, for sure, they're told that the mouth is the reflection of what happens in the entire body. And currently, there's a huge emphasis on periodontal disease and its repercussions, as the cardiologist is going to tell us, in some cardiac heart processes. And also, we are facing periodontal disease with other processes in the body. So I think it's important to, consider the medical information that we have as dentists. For example, I teach with the dermatologist of Hospital 20 Noviembre. And of course, I have to, have a great effort to bring good cases and something interesting that it's useful for these physicians. And then when they have anything, a patient that has a buccal pathology, they consult us. So us as dentists, we can integrate ourselves in the work with the physicians. And I believe that at school, we're lacking that integration, that involvement in hospitals, dentists, real physicians, dental physicians or buccal physicians should be involved in hospital life. We should work with patients because having a clean mouth and being cavity free will help in any systemic disease. In cancerology, is that where we have a greater integration and involvement. Also maxillofacial prosthetics, but we really need buccal or oral physicians as a unique specialty. We have currently specialties which are called pathologies in oral medicine, and I don't agree with this. We have these two big specialties in the US, buccal pathology, which is a 3-year program, and buccal medicine between 2 and 3 years, depending if you're having a master's or not. And we deliver our students in 2 years with both specialties. This can't be happening. We have to have a better role regarding this. So we also have to increase the load, the academic load in genetics. We used to say it's the future, but genetics is the current trend. So we've spoken with Dr. Mauricio, speaking about flux cytology, many things which are associated with ethics and with genetics. We have to be a part of this because we have to know about genetics. And we can speak about many other basic subjects that should be reinforced in dentistry in order to become buccal physicians. And also we could say that physicians, young physicians, they don't, they don't go through the mouth. When I was a child, that was a long time ago, my doctor, because he visited in my home, he would check my mouth and my tongue. And that's very present in my memories when I speak with physicians. So if that, it is important that dentists are part and involved as oral physicians, and that physicians recognize us as part of the benefit that the patient could receive if they have a good quality oral health, cavity-free, issue-free cavity, oral cavity. So we're trying to do our best, and we are also carrying out lots of clinical research, which is very important. And this in research has to have a benefit in our patients. What's going to happen if I have a good oral hygiene? So that's the most important thing. And of course, we have to try to have a good specific specialty, specifically in buccal medicine. That would be so important for universities.
Perdón, estaba yo muteado. Gracias, Beatriz.
I'm sorry, my mic was muted.
Interesante, ¿no, Mauricio?
Interesting, Mauricio, don't you think?
O sea, el problema lo centra Beatriz.
The problem is
no
mentioned by Beatriz as about not having the same weight about the subjects that we share in dentistry and medical school. When I studied in Connecticut in basic sciences, of course, they were so hard for me. And Connecticut is a university that has dentistry and medical school in the same facility. And it was so hard for me to keep up. But, but in clinics, nobody would know as much as I did. They hadn't been in clinics. So me, after social service, I had seen lots of patients. So just to be, but did you prepare something regarding, I'm worried, obviously, about the inequalities of education, as you just mentioned. And I'd like to start saying that when there's no dichotomy, is that oral health affects general health. Nobody should question this. And therefore, it affects the quality of life of any individual. We have to understand that an oral cavity, a clean oral cavity without disease, will have an impact on other series of aspects of our life. And dentistry in its beginning was just a job, and it was a job that was not regulated. So in its origins, dentistry has to be regulated and has to be taught in universities. And originally, these were universities who were regulated and managed fundamentally by physicians. So at a certain moment, for unclear reasons, maybe linked to the positioning of dentistry as separate discipline, was strengthened by the creation of insurances. Dentistry starts separating itself, and we have, and that's why we have a debate like we're having today, because we need to think about the need of having a change. Why must there be a change? That would be my first question. And I think there must be a change because the separation, the current separation affects all of us, but especially it affects vulnerable populations. Those low-income populations in the U.S., colored populations, handicapped, populations of rural areas who have less access to dentistry or medical services in general, populations who have been in jail, who have social stigmas, so serious stigmas, and stigmas to have a reintegration into society. And currently, we have this terrible drug endogenous drug pandemics, which has an impact on teeth and mouth, which is dramatic. Maybe just have gone through research studies and analysis and statistics and well-defined statistics. We've seen that inflammatory diseases in the mouth, especially periodontal disease, is tied or linked to common diseases as diabetes, peripheral vascular diseases or cardiovascular disease, and Manuel will speak about it, obstructive chronic pulmonary disease, and also rheumatoid arthritis. I am following dental literature in some way because as gastroenterologist, I do not ignore that the digestive tube starts in the mouth, in the lips. And I agree with Beatriz. Nowadays, many physicians, they don't not only explore the mouth, they don't explore the patient in general terms. So many physicians who are trained as gastroenterologists, they don't explore the body of the patient. And that's part of the diagnosis, for example, for cancer. So, and just doing some echo of checking on dental literature, I can say that currently there are interesting articles regarding fetal death in people who had infections by fused bacteria that affected the fetus, or also gingivitis or periodontitis, which affected the weight of the newborn. We're speaking about something that's so multifaceted that it would be a mistake just to not, keep it in mind. So we know, for example, that people who have periodontitis, there's an increase of 20% of the medical attention costs just by having periodontitis. And I'm speaking not in dollars or hundreds of dollars. I'm speaking about billions of dollars. The medical attention in the U.S. is measured in trillions of dollars by year, but the improvement of buccal attention and the impact on chronic diseases would have an impact of billions of dollars. And this leads us to have implications in health policies. In the U.S., there are 141 million Americans who have a chronic disease. And one in four have more than one chronic disease. 3/5 of health expenses are only for chronic diseases. And if we establish aggressive policies of dental care, we could easily cut more than $60 billion these health costs. Nevertheless, which is the reality? Reality is that in this country, in the U.S., 44% of people do not have a dental insurance policy, and 53% have an insurance that do not offer dental insurance. One of my daughters is going to study law in University of New York, and she's insured by my own insurance, but my insurance is not offering her dental insurance because she's already 24 years old. And when we contacted the university to buy and purchase a dental insurance, university does not sell this insurance unless we buy and purchase the general insurance. And you start thinking about the problems in costs. And this leads us to finally education, where, since my point of view, the only way on how we can end this dichotomy, 70% of medical schools, and this is in the world, have in their curriculum 5 hours total 5 hours dedicated to the knowledge of mouth. And this is ridiculous. This is almost an offense. In Europe, they've thought that those who have graduated as dentists, they have to become physician first, and then maybe make a master's in dentistry. But what it's a fact is that when someone opens their mouth and has a lesion in their mouth, many times not even dentists or physicians recognize what the lesion is. And sometimes we have to go through buccal pathology, like the medical practice of Beatriz. But if it's not even recognized that we're in front of a tongue cancer, it won't even decide to biopsy that tissue, and this can have a long-term impact. I'd like to wrap up this part just by saying that in order to have changes in this dichotomy and in order to involve these two medical areas, we have to think that there must be a coherent education system, and this system must have three pillars. One, adherence to accreditation standards. If the Mexican Dental Association considers that these standards are the ones they decide, well, this person who studies this must accredit these factors. Second, there must be a response and an impact to society's needs. We cannot have an education, just magical education, that will satisfy our needs because it's beautiful or it's because close to science. It must respond to the needs of society. And finally, we have to think that this education can be economically sustainable. And if we, through debates like this one, and through dentists and physicians, we take this debate to authorities, I'd like to be optimistic and think that this dichotomy has the possibility to die. Thank you. Thank you, Mauricio. I knew since I invited you that you would be a good friend of dentistry, but it's not that common to listen to physicians who have ideas like the ones you just proposed. I really appreciate it, and I know you're at your home, and we have an audience which is interested in our program. I think they're probably giving you a hand from their house. So I'd like to give a chance to Manuel, and he's a great cardiologist, interventionist cardiologist. He has a great concern for prevention, and we've spoken that yes, we should have this with a good bottle of red wine and seafood, and continue speaking about how the government or governments in general just not they throw their money into certain programs which health aspirations are not able to notice on how much money you can save using preventive programs. Manuel, I don't know, maybe in this first intervention, but just please tell us about those centers you'd like to create, and we haven't found an echo somewhere else on the other side of the street. Well, just to make echo on what Mauricio was saying about the great impact that it would have with cardiovascular diseases and mortality, having a good oral health. But it's so clear that I agree with both Beatriz and Mauricio that this is a problem of origin. When we're in university, we couldn't care less about or students or teachers about dentistry, and education is so short and fast, and we just go through a bit about on a little bit of anatomy and just structures in the mouth, but we don't see beyond, we don't go beyond. But we are cardiologists, and we have the obligation to check the patient that is going to go to surgery to have an aortic prosthesis or any prosthesis that has to do with the heart. And we don't do this anytime when we remember, go to the dentist to go get a checkup, but we do not bother to do it because we have not been trained for that. And even if when we have just this slight idea that we have to do it, we don't even think about it. So just by checking the oral cavity, we could decide who could have, for example, amygdalitis, or who could have a repercussion on rheumatic fever or have a greater mortality. So my associate, Dr. Quintero, he really speaks about of having a mortality due to this disease, and that we could have just a slight idea just by opening our patient's mouth and checking on their tonsils. It's so clear that in the last years we've got to know that periodontal disease tend to swollen not only the oral cavity but also the vascular system as any other disease. So as COVID, there's a moment whether there's a severe inflammation that we have intravascular coagulation, we have septic shock, and also we can have this additional effect with periodontitis, because we can have a high blood pressure, we can increase the metabolic dysfunction or endothelial dysfunction in these patients. So I do agree, but in the health caravans in this country, we have 5 different health caravans, and in more than 3 of them, there's only one dentist. So there's a contradictory message. We have a dentist, but we don't have a cardiologist. But there is a vision, probably, or something that that our authorities should notice, that there should be a proper attention to buccal health. And we'll speak about these. But Mauricio, he won't let me lie that from all the effects that endothelial dysfunction can cause, they can ruin us many situations. For you who are watching us, many of you are probably not physicians, but the endothelial dysfunction is like the Teflon of a pan, and whatever that damages this Teflon will make the rust to stick in, and this happens if the vascular system swollen. Well, we're going to have these problems. So, and we can have the situation due to buccal diseases too. And the dichotomy has been created by ourselves, by us.
Sí, yo creo que se le fue al sonido.
Sí. Yeah, he's muted. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors. I remind you, to our audience, all the people who appear in this program is done pro bono. We are not paid by any form, and thanks to our sponsors, thanks to them, we can have the production that we can carry out. And basically, I'd like to acknowledge Colgate Palmolive Mexico, the company Dentadec, Coa Internacional, Ideas Dentales, and Amic Dental, which is the dental commerce industry. Let's have a short video.
La línea Guard también ofrece soluciones para quien presenta problemas en las encías. El ya conocido enjuague bucal Colgate PerioGuard con clorhexidina al 0.12% ayuda a controlar el nivel de bacterias presentes en boca. Debido a su amplio espectro bactericida, reduce hasta un 99% las bacterias bucales, reduce en un 48% el sangrado gingival y hasta en un 54% la placa bacteriana. No contiene alcohol, tiene un sabor agradable a menta, fácil de utilizar y con altísimos estándares de calidad y validación científica que lo distinguen de otras clorhexidinas. Al enjuague Colgate PerioGuard se le unen 2 nuevos productos que complementan y ayudan al tratamiento de las personas con problemas de encías. La nueva crema dental especializada Colgate PerioGuard con una fórmula a base de zinc que garantiza una acción antibacteriana prolongada que ayuda a prevenir la inflamación de las encías, la formación de placa y sarro dental. Ayuda a prevenir el sangrado gingival hasta hasta en un 66.7%. Puede ser utilizada de forma diaria y prolongada, ya que su principal ingrediente activo se encuentra de forma natural en el cuerpo humano. Y por último, el nuevo cepillo dental especializado Colgate PerioGuard, de cabeza compacta, mango ergonómico antideslizante y con exclusivas cerdas cónicas Perisoft ultra suaves con puntas de filamentos microfinos, garantizan la eliminación profunda y eficiente de la placa bacteriana sin dañar las encías. Gracias a su cabeza con anatomía diamantada y componente de caucho, evita traumatismos durante el cepillado. Colgate, siempre a la vanguardia del cuidado bucal, presentó Colgate Guard, la ciencia detrás de tu sonrisa.
Well, let's continue with this interesting debate in this division that in our daily life between medicine and dentistry. Can we have PDF2, please? So we said, where does this division begins between medicine and dentistry? Why do we have buccal medicine but in dentistry, but we don't have dentistry in medical dentistry in medicine school? So can we go back?
Gracias.
5 hours to teach something about a mouth, that's nothing. So I'm going to read some interesting data. Dentistry was born as a job. Some countries requested to go to medical school before going to dentistry as a specialty. But then we have a great wave in another sense that speaks that dentistry is a profession that must be studied by itself. In the last 10 years, we had interesting events. In 2011, finally, we accepted that buccal diseases, that dental diseases, share the same risks as non-communicable diseases. And that's a great change, thinking that caries or cavities, that a mother could transmit the microbes to her child with a kiss. And that this has nothing to say that the caries is present. Caries is a much more complex disease, and there are many factors that play a role and to have a destruction of dental tissues. But caries is the biggest epidemiologic disease in the world. Many countries say that between 80 to 95% of caries in school children. And this is terrible, not by the number, because caries is a disease which is 100% preventable. We must attack the different factors, which are the most important. That I have a teacher, Professor Bayon in microbiology, and he died creating a vaccine to kill lactobacillus. But he did it many years before that. We had probiotic chewing gums, and some other day we can discuss if they're helpful or not. And there's a different concept, and that's our next week's program. But precisely the dean of the director of WHO, Dr. Margaret Chan, I don't remember if 2014 or 2015, she finally said that sugar was responsible for caries. For centuries, for years, sugar was not responsible only for diabetes, obesity, and consequently for cardiovascular diseases. But that's how, just putting a step and not allowing us to close the door. And like we said previously, the same WHO does not have in their budget enough money for a dental specialist in public health. And it's incredible that for many years it was only someone who was paid by its country. And we had a great discussion in FDI when WHO just said, I'm sorry, we have no budget. This person's gone, so we don't have anyone who could manage or know about public health and dentistry. So another country came in, that person was there only for 2 years. And it's incredible that not even within the greatest medical organization, which is WHO, or Pan American Health Organization that oral health requires specialists in oral diseases. And we'll speak about if we have different divisions. But it was incredible that they didn't have a specialist in public health policies, because it's WHO is responsible to dictate those norms towards the medical community and also for dental communities. And that's the space that was occupied by FDI, which is the UN of for teeth, and Mexican Dental Association is the association that represents the Mexican dentists within this great federation, which has 1.5 million dentists in the world. And it's always seen, in a lower step. Dentistry comes from a job. It comes from barbers. Barbers could shave or drain abscesses, depending on how they place they had already had the blade to do it, and then we knew them as phlebotomian physicians. And until Pierre Fauchard came and vindicated the cause, he became the first dentist in the world. And from that, a story begins with that. In a certain moment, I agree with you, Beatriz, the story starts to get twisted. Basic sciences are substituted by carpenters, and dentistry has several phases, which is the diagnosis, the impact, and the result. And not only in on how many years we went through dental education based on the procedure, not on the patient. Mauricio and Manuel, we have had great discussions of if we should educate or train. You can train a dog. You just, toss the ball and he'll come back, and you just repeat this action. Many programs train dentists to solve in a certain way a certain situation. Like a friend of mine would say, when you get close to a neurosurgeon, he'd say, well, just get close to the dog, then, I'm sorry, he was too fast. So whoever solves with the blade will do it. And you can also look for other alternatives. There's not only one correct or right answer. There could be treatments based on evidence or science based on evidence, but there are several ways to arrive to a certain point. So I believe that wrong tour that dentistry took in the 20th century could be derived by the high costs of studying dentistry. Nowadays, a dental student who goes to a private school with his personal scholarship and his fees, they can probably pay around $500,000, and probably they won't pay it doing public health dentistry or doing prevention, because it's still a prevention that many insurances don't recognize. And this is not between insurances and medicine that should be received, or what you can receive by your insurance, and all that, not where we have all the lawyers who get a great share from dentistry, because lawyers have a share on malpractices, and I don't know, probably we will be able to untie that knot. But I believe that, I don't know what you think, but what positive message could we send toward a recovery of this wound, which I believe is a deep wound between medical science and dentistry?
Perfecto.
Beatriz, I think that the most important thing is that students who come into dental school are educated, not trained. Training, I don't like that word. They should be educated, and education should be carried out with discipline and a humanitarian focus, and with an association with medicine, because we know that our mouth, well, there's going to be a lot of repercussions in heart disease, but not only in the repercussion, but also us, a dentist, we can carry out a diagnosis, initial diagnosis of systemic diseases just by watching our patients' mouths. And we should focus on this. How can dentistry and medicine can help for a patient to have a better quality of life? And that's important. And we've lost that empathy that we should have with our patients. Like you said, they only have a number. I'm going to make a prosthesis, and I'm going to get this much money. I think we should consider other things. Our professor that teaches for a student that learns that there should be humanitarian also, dentistry with medicine. And this would be the most important for me. Not losing humanitarian issues and empathy that a dentist and a physician should be with the patient. Mauricio. Maybe I would focus on three aspects. First one of them would be a philosophy. A philosophical aspect is simple. We have to recognize that the paradigm of medicine and dentistry, of healing, is a valid paradigm, but we should also focus on prevention. Medicine of the future and dentistry of the future is trying to be there before the disease arises and to achieve a change of paradigm. Therefore, for me, the first change should be a philosophical change. Second has to do with changes in health policies. If we don't have changes here, this will be so complicated. I said how many people in the US do not have a dental insurance, which is the consequence of not having this kind of insurance. Well, 27% of the population in the US lives and walks through the streets with caries, with mouths where they have a lack of teeth. They're missing teeth. Many of them have chronic gum bleeding and periodontal disease that will aggravate chronic diseases, from which 1/3 part of the population, if not more, already have one or two or more chronic diseases. If we continue insisting that these changes can only be held from education, and we strengthen this education, integrating, involving medicine in dentistry, this will change. Why doesn't it change? If you go to the most of the hospitals in the US, they don't have a dental department. Dental department should be treated outside the hospital when the patient is already discharged. The dentist does not have contact with the patient's file. So in the US, we work with electronic files, but these files are separated between dentistry and medicine. And this should end. This should come to an end, because if this ends, we would have an interprofessional education professional, and physicians and dentists would involve, and also education. You know, I've also spoke about the criteria about education. If we achieve these changes, which are not simple, if we focus on these three aspects, there's a future of involvement. And finally, we can see an involved profession, coherent and congruent profession. You mentioned caries, Dr. Beatriz, Dr. Beatriz was speaking about genetics. Nowadays, we're moving towards genetic medicine to understand why people have caries. If before we spoke about candies and sweets or play, which is also true, now we're focusing on studying the DNA. What's in the genetic load? Why some people have more caries than others? And these changes have to do with education and with something that we haven't spoken about, research. I think that money for research in some way has to be more important for everything. So finally, in the US, there's a doctor for every 350 inhabitants, more or less. In the same population, within the same population, there's one dentist for 2,000 inhabitants. So this translates the problems that we are facing with not its own educational thoughts and philosophy on how to manage disease or the future of both practices as a way of integrated medicine. Manuel, please shortly tell us about that prevention project that with lots of love you've tried to boost. It's incredible how these things come from individuals, but the same institutions do not catch them. We all know, Mauricio, not by everyone. Our foundation has a permanent program of early detection of oral cancer. And we do this with UNAM too, and with INCAN, which is, it hurts. It's painful to listen to Dr. Meneses saying that with someone who comes with oral cancer, comes to the physician, he has already been to 4 dentists who didn't know what was going on. So what can you tell us about this incredible program that you're trying to implement in Mexico? Before that, I'd like to continue with what Mauricio was saying. Education is important. We're a sick country. We have over 40 million sick people in our country. So we're all, we have a sick population. These secondary measures are insufficient, trying to contain that avalanche of complications and deaths, because we do not educate physicians or population. So the doctor wants to work just to get money. Prevention does not get us great earnings. So we have to change that point of view. If at the beginning we were saying that a good hygiene, oral hygiene, or the diminishing of gum infections could be reduced up to 25% of cardiovascular diseases, this would be a great way of saving money for the institution. For example, if we could decrease mortality in up to 20%, that has been regarding cardiovascular mortality, this would be such a great deal. But how are we going to do it if we do not educate them? Let's not speak about a stroke. It's a great problem to get to the diagnosis. Physicians or patients do not want to get a checkup. We know that we're sick, that we're obese, that we smoke, that we have diabetes, that we have hypertension, and we do nothing about it. We only want to be there, that when the problem gets there, we want to get a solution. But that's too late, like the Lincoln would say. This is a late solution. So they've been through many physicians by then. So in many countries in Europe, they've reduce cardiovascular diseases, educating people and attending early in their early stations on secondary prevention. But we don't want to do this. We only want to save people. That's already too late. If we could create a unit as cancer detection that has that breast cancer, that has we have great publicity about it and many campaigns, and it's been a great deal after 40 years of educating women to check their breasts. When will we achieve this in cardiovascular diseases, that when we have 60 patients for every 100, if we don't educate them? We have to go to the origin, which is basically education. After education, for sure, we're still going to have sick people, but then we're going to look for them. How can we find them before they have a heart attack, before they cut their leg, amputate their leg? Well, having early detection. Well, yes, maybe you'll have to put them a catheter. Yes, but that's probably cheaper than having them having a heart attack. But I don't know when we are lost like that. The dichotomy, when do we lose the dichotomy between disease and health? If we can educate them to have a great oral education, that they can visit their dentist as many times as needed, and that the patient, hypertension patient, controlled patient, you see him twice a year, well, that's great. But if it's not perfect, he has to come every 15 days or every month to regulate their blood pressure. The diabetic patients, there's been centuries that patients say, when you had insulin, you had all the complications. No, we're so dumb, physicians, that we don't insist on having an early insulin therapy before they get out of hand. So we could achieve a cardiovascular diagnosis where we have a cardiovascular checkup with effort, with an echo, with the patient before they get to the hospital. We could achieve this, like many countries did in Europe, as Jaime said. In the US, in some places, when mortality starts, they have a truck with all the equipment to have angiographies, because something's going on in that community while these deaths are rising. So we could do this here too, but we must have open-mindedness, and we think we know everything because I'm a cardiologist, because I know how to open an artery. I know this. No, I think we're wrong. And there are things that are out of our hands. And if I don't read about gingivitis and I have no idea what was I going to talk about tonight. So we need to go to a short video from our sponsors, and we'll be back in a second.
Protege a tu clínica y a tus pacientes. Conoce la fórmula de O Radical de amplio espectro como desinfectante orgánico de superoxidación que elimina bacterias, virus y hongos desinfectando superficies. Desinfecta tu consultorio, equipo, sillones, instrumental quirúrgico, rotatorios y cucharillas. Además, no mancha y no guarda olor. Protégete y protégeme. O Radical, el mejor amigo en tu consultorio.
Sí, a ver si nos van a apoyar con un último PDF que habíamos preparado. Y es precisamente la definición de la salud bucal.
So this is the definition of oral health.
Que nace en Francia. Y por eso es que
from French buccal dental, according to FDI, which was born in France, and that's why they adopt this name. So now the official language is English, but that's why they only kept this in French. So buccal-dental disease is polyphacetic. It's the ability to speak, smiles, taste, touch, chew, swallow, and transmit a series of emotions through facial expressions with trust and without pain. It's a fundamental compound of the physical and mental well-being. It's inserted in a continuous by attitudes and values of every individual and community. It reflects the physiological, social, and psychological attributes for quality of life. It's influenced by perceptions, experiences, and changing expectations of the individual and its ability to adapt to circumstances. When this definition was approved, it included kissing, and I think that a patient has the right to put their mouth in held, because when the kissing moment comes, you know, the girlfriend will just say, "What's wrong with you?" Like, and nothing more interdisciplinary than halitosis. So I have many patients who come by halitosis, and most of them, they don't even, it doesn't even come from their mouth, you know, bad breath. It's a gastric problem, or it's a sinus problem, or maybe a chronic sinus disease, or mucus, which is fermented, and that when you get close, you get, you know, this odor, or sometimes it's that apple cider vinegar odor of people who have diabetes. So, but in many occasions, it seems like there's a doctor for one specific thing, you know. We criticize dentistry that is taught nowadays, has been taught by with principles of 19th century from teachers of 20th century, and this pandemic just made us think about minimal invasion, aerosols, and remineralization, which comes together with a great research. But as we said before starting the program, show me the money. Where is the money for research? If we compared, I don't know, money that's invested by pharmaceuticals or the health institutions for medical research or with medical therapeutic ends, that would be the size of the Tour Eiffel. And you would like to compare that with what is invested with research to corroborate the relationship between dentistry and periodontal disease and diabetes. Probably the money is what I have in my wallet compared to the Eiffel Tower. So I don't want to sound as an upset dentist, but money is controlled by the health department, and the health department is controlled by physicians. It's I've never seen a president of a health commission in any state or in the deputies chamber, which is a dentist, but they're mostly physicians, health secretaries, or ministers. Not only Dr. Salomon Chaturinsky, who's not a physician, he's most of the rest they are, and it's just like as if we had a small like a small mafia, you know, like taking the solution of the diseases only by or solely by physicians. But when it's about cooperation, now, for example, COVID has made us all reflect and rethink, like whoever thought, you know, you would spend all this time thinking about
¿por qué a
who are
mí?
we,
¿Por
why are we
qué,
here,
no?
why me, why not
He
others.
escuchado
And
decir a gente que
I've listened
afortunado que se murió porque
people
nunca,
saying,
nunca tuvo
oh,
que
that he's
sufrir
so
esto, ¿no?
lucky to die because
Cuando la
he didn't
misma
have to suffer
pandemia
this
nos ha
situation
demostrado a
of the
algunos la
pandemics.
oportunidad de
So this pandemic
reinventarse,
has showed us the
de
opportunity
volver
also
a tener
to
ese tiempo de
reinvent
calidad
ourselves, to
rápido
have
que
this
nunca
quality
tuvimos,
time with our
porque
family,
estábamos embotados en
probably
el
because we were
trabajo
so
y
busy
eso
at work,
era lo más
as if
importante.
it
Pues
was the
un
most
gran
important thing in
acomodón
our
de
lives.
prioridades esta
So many
pandemia,
priorities have
pero tratando de
changed.
ubicarlo en
So
nuestro
trying
tema,
to
¿cuál sería,
locate our
aparte
subject, what would
de hacer una
be
carrera única, que lo veo muy difícil?
having a unique
Eh, son los capítulos y los
program?
montescos en
These are
cuanto
the
a géneros,
capitalists
¿no?
and the
No veo
Montes.
una
I
voz
don't
líder de
see a
voz de,
leader
hey,
voice that
vamos a hacer un
says,
alto en el camino
hey,
y ahora
let's
vamos a hacer una
stop
sola
and
carrera
let's only
y
have
ahora ya
one
diferentes especialidades.
program
No,
and
no lo
different
veo. No
specialties.
quiero ser
I
pesimista,
don't want to be pessimistic,
pero ese
but
proyecto muy largo no veo quién lo
just
pueda,
that I don't see
quién lo pueda
who
terminar.
would
Pero es,
do
Sí.
this.
pero es que eso ya se
But
hizo
that,
cuando en España
someone tried to do that
se
in
hizo durante mucho
Spain,
tiempo.
and they did it for a
Estudiaban
long
primero
time.
medicina y
They
un par de
had to
años
go first to
odontología,
medical school, and then for
y
2 more years they would
los que
finish
se iban
dental
hacia
school.
odontología,
And whoever
los
went to dental
trabajos, cuando uno
school, their
veía
works, when you
calidad de
saw
los
the
trabajos
quality of the works,
no era adecuada.
they didn't
Y por
have the
eso
best
se
of the
decidió
quality. So that's why
separar
they decided
la
to
odontología de la
separate
medicina.
dentistry
Y creo que lo
from
que
medical
falta no es que
sciences.
sea solo una
And what's
carrera,
lacking, it's
sino
not
que
one
seamos no
program, that
solo
we are
en el
only one
pensamiento
voice or
de
one
la prevención o
thought
del
of
mejoramiento
prevention
directo del
and
paciente,
direct improvement
¿sí?
of the
Porque
patient.
cada
Because
especialidad,
every
cada área
specialty,
tiene,
every area
¿cómo te diré?
has
Eso que no puedes tener
that has
total, porque el
nothing
conocimiento es
that
demasiado,
you cannot have
¿sí?
all of it. It's a
Si
lot
tuviera
of
una sola
knowledge.
bueno, yo no estoy de acuerdo,
Well, I don't
eso no.
agree, but maybe
No. Yo acuérdate que yo soy
remember,
comunicador, yo
I'm
no
just
meto a todos mis
provoking you.
pacientes, siento aquí atrás.
I just sit here and
Yo creo
listen.
que
I
lo
believe
que
that
falta es que los
we're
odontólogos
missing is that
entendamos que
dentists, we
tenemos
should
que
understand that we
participar más
have to
y hacer
participate
más
and
impacto.
do
Y siempre
and
lo
have a
menciono
greater
cuando
impact,
doy pláticas,
a greater impact
en la comunidad médica,
in the medical
los
community, in
hospitales,
hospitals,
en beneficio del paciente.
and
No,
just for the benefit of the
creo que lo mejor
patient.
sea hacer
I don't think that
una sola carrera
it would be good to
no.
have
Yo
only
creo
one
que a los
program,
odontólogos nos
study
falta,
program.
por ejemplo,
I think
tener
dentists, we
más
should
especialidad
have
como medicina bucal y otra
more
especialidad
specialties
de
as
genética y hacer mucho más
buccal
especialidades
medicine, and have
que
other
las que
subjects
ya
like genetics, and
conocemos.
have other specialties.
Primero porque el conocimiento
Because
está haciendo
knowledge
los avances son
is
muchos,
making great
tenemos que
steps,
estar
and we have
preparados
to
y
be
tenemos que
ready
tener
for that, and we must
especialistas que
have
tengan todos esos
specialists that have
conocimientos.
all this
Pero
knowledge.
el odontólogo
But a dentist
necesita su espacio, necesita su
needs their
conocimiento
space and
para
their
hacer
knowledge
ahora lo que
to
hacen en prótesis,
do
lo
what
que
it's
se
done
hace en
in prosthetics
ortodoncia.
and orthodontists.
Yo no hago nada de
I
eso,
don't do anything
pero tengo
from
todos
about
los
that, but I have all my
alumnos y me
students,
maravilla
and
realmente lo que
I
llegan
am
a hacer de
surprised on
rehabilitaciones
what
y de
they can
estudios
do in
y todo.
rehabilitation and
Entonces, yo creo
prosthetics
que
and
solo
studies.
falta
So I think
ubicarnos
that
un
we
poquito
only
más
need
y hacer el
to
enfoque
have
de
a greater
impacto
focus
directo en el
on
hospital.
having a
Y creo
direct
que tenemos
impact
la
in
capacidad de
hospitals,
hacerlo
and I think we have the ability
si
to
nos
do so
enfocamos,
if we
si nos preparamos, si damos
prepare
ese tiempo
ourselves,
y la
if
disciplina
we
al
ask for
estudio
that
para
discipline
poder
to
impactar.
study,
Si
to
no,
have a
no lo
greater
vamos a hacer y van a seguir
impact.
creyendo que
If we
solo
don't do
somos
that, we'll continue to
preparadores o
believe that we're
artesanos,
only
que no lo
artisans
somos,
or
pero
craftsmen,
nos ven
and
así
we're not that.
para
That's how they
mezcla,
see us, because just because
por
of
el
our
medio
fault,
médico, sino
not
nosotros
only
tenemos
the
la culpa
physician,
de no
it's our
impactar.
fault for
Mauricio,
not
dices que a
having a
pesar de que
great
vives en el
impact.
extranjero, sigues muy de
Mauricio, I
cerca
know you
a
live
las cosas que pasan
in the
aquí.
U.S. and
Tienes
you
familia todavía
you
aquí
have
en México.
family in Mexico
Y a mí
anyway.
hubo algo
And there
que
was
me
something
entristeció y que
that
fue precisamente uno de los
made me really
motivos
sad,
que
and
me
it's
llevó a hacer
precisely
la charla esta noche.
that made me
Cuando
make this
el
discussion tonight. When
presidente
the president,
una mañanera,
in one of his morning
o sea, en
conferences,
vez de felicitar a
instead
los
of
médicos que se la estaban rifando ante
congratulating
una pandemia,
physicians that were
detectamos que hoy
working
sabemos
in the
más de
pandemics,
lo
and now we
mucho
know
que viene
more
por
about
delante
this
de lo que se sabía
virus
en un principio.
than we knew before at the beginning. He said that physicians, as physicians, and who care for their profession, they got into hospitals and started working in the front line. And the president made a comment that physicians they were only doing it for the money, and there was a mountain of letters from the different medical associations that were asking and requesting an apology from the president, because that comment, which was it was very inappropriate, without any data, or just a thought that he had. And when this letter from the Mexican Dental Association, I was proud of it, because I'm proud of this apparatus. But we had many reactions. Many dentists said that we shouldn't politicize this, that they would come against dentists. But what was sadder from all of it is that in social media, many would say, "Oh, hey, we're not physicians, we're dentists. We're not supposed to fight on this battle." So when but that's also a mistake. Not feeling yourself as a physician, just thinking that we only like artisans or craftsmen previously using amalgam and now resins. Yeah, Beatriz mentioned some things which are very important. A physician should stop behaving as the older brother from the dentist, and the dentist should stop feeling as the youngest brother. Recently, I read a study from Holland, from the Netherlands, which was in a medical journal, where they had 200 questionnaires where they precisely tried to find what would people think about physicians and dentists. And I believe that results are interesting, and they reflect something that we've mentioned. And I'm going to say that the population, the identified dentists, like someone much more commercial, someone that had would care less about their patient and their well-being, someone who would have less communication. They thought that visiting the dentist in general would be something that would produce more pain than any benefit. And in general terms, they would show less trust or rely less in their dentist than their physician. This has nothing to do with Mexico or the US or myself. But it leads me to think that if dentistry would see itself as physicians, as researchers, as people who want to learn more, the money for research is received by a grant or sponsors, not only pharmaceutical companies, but the government too. And if there are research programs, serious programs in dentistry, these will prosper and grow. Therefore, I believe that many things that should happen is that dentists, like Beatriz said, has to become proud of their profession, and you have to go out there and defend dentistry, not only as someone who just fills a cavity, but also that when a patient opens their mouth, is capable of seeing the mouth as an organ, many organs, if you like to see it this way, and to speak to the physician, face to face. I speak to physicians, and I I know how they feel uncomfortable when the dentist calls them to ask if they don't understand if coagulation. Well, the dentist who must speak at face to face at the same level as a physician, and the physician obviously they must be less arrogant and to see the mouth and to learn what a tooth is and what gums are and to learn what porphyry fibers are, which are amaloglasts, because otherwise there will always be this dichotomy and everyone will be going through their own pathway. This is where the union makes a force. Not a dentist that says, well, we're not physicians. Well, that was very sad to listen the president of Mexico saying that if there were not drugs for cancer treatments, that the doctors should pay them for the dentist, and they should go to take up an airplane and to bring the medicine. This is ignorance. Medicine is not bringing drugs at a certain moment. Is a compound. Is a science. Dentistry is just the same. And I have the impression that dentists they have diminished the importance of their own profession, and this should change. And honestly, I don't think it will unless there's a change in education. Manuel? Well, there's not much to add. The important point is to change the mentality of everyone. Some of them should go lower their mentality or other increase it. But how, Manuel? That's what I don't know. Well, I propose education. I propose debates like this one and many others. I propose that someone should sit in this health department, discusses a national health plan. I believe that the idea of prevention must change. I believe that there are many things that I look like Don Quixote, for example, when he says to Sancho Panza, this is a unitary problem, and Quixote says, no, this is a justice problem. So this is a justice problem, I believe. So when people who are dentists and physicians work together for a common end, there's a better probability or greater probability that if we continue in different pathways or parallel but divergent pathways. So what happens is that we all carry our own load and the government tells us what to do. We say what we're doing and whoever's in front of us say what they're doing, but we're doing nothing. So I already gave you the numbers. The last 4 presidents said that mortality in cardiovascular diseases will be reduced, but no, it keeps increasing. We have to work on prevention, on diabetes and hypertension, in oral health to diminish all our factors, and we're not working. Nobody wants to do this. We're not in position, but someone who went to Harvard that comes to the government and that can put an order and sit people who think and who could do this in a coherent way, but there's no one who can do this. And years go by, and since I have a memory, we continue speaking about prevention, but nobody does it.
Mira, fíjate, hay otras
There's other topics that we cannot talk about. We have many comments that I'd like to say. We didn't have questions, but we have lots of comments supporting what you all said. But we're going to a short video. They're calling me now, and we'll be back.
OrthoGuard es una línea completa especializada para quienes usan aparatos de ortodoncia. Cuenta con 3 productos de uso diario que ayudan a prevenir las lesiones de mancha blanca en los dientes. El enjuague bucal especializado Colgate OrthoGuard, con una fórmula revolucionaria en el segmento de los enjuagues bucales, le proporciona a los consumidores una efectividad terapéutica en el tratamiento ortodóntico y en pacientes de alto riesgo de caries. Llegamos a los espacios irregulares generados por la adhesión de la resina y el bracket, previniendo la desmineralización del esmalte hasta un 58%, libre de alcohol, sabor agradable y de uso diario en personas de 6 años en adelante. El nuevo gel dental especializado Colgate OrthoGuard, con 5000 partes por millón de fluoruro de sodio, ideal para personas en tratamiento de ortodoncia y o con alto riesgo de caries. Revierte 3 veces más las lesiones de caries inicial y proporciona hasta 40% mayor reducción de caries contra una crema dental regular con fluoruro. Es seguro y se recomienda usarlo diariamente, una vez al día durante el tratamiento ortodóntico, indicado para personas de 6 años en adelante. Durante el tratamiento de ortodoncia, los cuidados de salud bucal exigen mayor atención. Los brackets y alambres ortodónticos pueden impedir una buena higiene bucal. Por eso Colgate ha creado el cepillo dental especializado Colgate OrthoGuard, con cerdas multinivel, indicado para quienes usan aparatos ortodónticos. Gracias a su forma en U, cubre toda la superficie del bracket, mejorando el efecto de limpieza en la encía, dientes, alambres y brackets. Las cerdas externas en forma de espiral eliminan la placa dental en la línea de la encía, proporcionando así una mejor sensación de limpieza en los tejidos bucales. Y a su vez, las cerdas internas auxilian en la limpieza alrededor de los brackets y alambres ortodónticos. Sus puntas de 0.01 milímetros pueden limpiar pequeños espacios, proporcionando una mejor limpieza de la superficie de los brackets y alambre. Colgate, siempre a la vanguardia del cuidado bucal, presentó Colgate Guard, la ciencia detrás de tu sonrisa.
Well, just reminding you that all of our lectures are free. You don't have to go downtown to buy a cloned CD. And you can find them in Ira Academia on Facebook in Spanish and Ira Academia on YouTube. And you have all the collection. You can watch them and recreate them all these weeks. Genie in the Bottle is our 9th program, but before that, we had Miércoles en Casa, we had Martes, Crecimiento Personal. We had many lectures and many programs that you can watch them if you're still, awake in the middle of the night or between one patient and the other. So we can access them. So let's see some comments. I'd like to say something. I had the opportunity to have this program within a university that also had medical school, and we had a class which is family dentistry and family medicine, and the file was an integrated file. So we learned from nurses who were in that area, from physicians, and they learned some things from us. At the same time, we had an emergency room 24/7, where everything that would happen in the face, we would be the first responsible. And we decided if we could solve it ourselves, or if the maxillofacial oral surgeon or a plastic surgeon would have to come. So they would be there on Friday night because we had all the drunk patients. And that's what I started. I learned how to put stitches or have the hockey sticks stuck on their face, and I had to fix not only their broken teeth. So this was just a complete concept that things had to be this. I had 1 month rotation on general anesthesia where I became an anesthesiologist, and that's the first time where you have the life of someone in your life in your hands. And you would carry out the procedure with an anesthesiologist who was on call, and the others were the technicians, and you would do it. You would have a local blocking, you would have sedations, you would do intubations, and this was a month, and you learn, you grow. And also, as my father was also a physician, and these were medical. I would have medical classes during dinner, so that's why I feel like a dental physician and not only a dentist. I do this comment. So now there are many. We have some comments here. It says, with scientific evidence that we have, with scientific evidence, I'm convinced that in the short term, dentists will be a key role in this COVID-19 pandemic. Am I the only one who's a dreamer? I do agree with you, Dr. Beatriz Aldape. It's not only our education. As health professionals, we should be emphatic, and we have to care about our patient, but not only our education degree, which is important, but also on how we carry out a more ethical dentistry. Oral medicine should be integrated into a general medicine to be prepared for the current health levels. Genomic medicine is interactive in new personalized medicine. Precision medicine is preventive, predictive, participative, and personalized. Parodontitis is linked to 57 systemic diseases and medical entities where bacteria and viruses participate in biofilm. Biofilm pathogens produced in dysbiosis with an impact in humans. Food is your medicine. We should also speak about oral health as we do with vaccinations. So we have been integrated with general. We do not carry out these programs. In medical certificates, you have an oral exam should be present too. So. We're only young people. New generations should study and prepare themselves to work in multidisciplinary teams. We can have a multi-curricular universities who have a common branch where all medical sciences study together and then they take their own branch. Health policies should change too in order to achieve prevention, education. Manuel Carrillo, nobody cares about prevention, and all the public policies work on keeping diseases. Dr. Mauricio Lisquel, the worst enemy of dentistry are not physicians. Most of the time, it's the same dentists who feel inferior and do nothing to become better and improve their knowledge. And they do nothing to improve how physicians they are. Definitely, it would be a great option to receive a better education in medical education, and this will reinforce basic knowledge. And I'm talking about Dr. Alfaro, about making an internship in hospital as I did. Great topic and great guests. Great phrase from Dr. Lisquel, a common pathway. If we speak about prevention, why not speaking about epigenetics? So these are the comments, tonight's comments. We're going to have a last round. It's already 10:30 and time flies. So let's have a last round of comments, Beatriz, to wrap it up. Well, we all have a great discussion about the behavior that they have as physicians, because physicians are not like both of you. Like Dr. Edison said, normally it's very complicated. When I started working in cancerology to see some patients, I'd say, well, I'm an oral pathologist, and they would say, and what's that for? And then I had to say, well, I'm a dentist. Oh, dentist. Oh yeah, just step aside. That's how I felt. So it's very difficult when we come into these medical means as dentists. So we have to prepare ourselves. And I looked for the antonym for dichotomy because we had discussion about the semantics. And the antonym is union. So this is what we're talking about. Instead of speaking about dichotomy, we should use union, and which is the most important. We are all equal, and there's someone who will know more than us, and we should look for them and learn from them because we want to become better. Thank you for your opinions, and this has been great, and I've learned a new concept from you physicians who do recognize that dentistry is important for their patients. Thank you. Me, I just want to add proposing a change, which I think is an easy change, and I believe that they would bloom fastly. And I think that a dentist in a advanced stage of their training, they should go to hospitals and they should be part of the residents of first, second, and third year, and the dentists and the pharmacologists and the nurse, all visiting patients together. And in that way, the dentist could see the oral problems of the patient. He would listen to the systemic problems of the disease, and they would, and with those experiences, they would all enrich their knowledge, and they would all learn from each other. And this is a very easy change. You only need that dental schools and medical schools get to an agreement to have this rotations during the last 2 years of their trainings. Therefore, dentists and doctors learn to work together, that they learn a common language, that they learn to respect each other, and big brothers and young brothers will be over. Thank you, Manuel. Just to wrap it up, I'd like to say that we should always remember that every infection, oral infection, can have a general repercussion. Most of them don't go having a local infection, but many others tend to have great damages. The most known is that when we are carrying out a dental procedure, we have a prosthetics. We say, oh, you have an aortic neutral valve. We need to have extra care with that patient, have a cleanup. But the real deal is that we can have this with any kind of prosthetics, because they're not only going to end up, bacteria will not only end up in the heart, they will go to any area of the body that's acceptable or vulnerable, who's already swollen. So we give it as a fact that a patient with an infection, as gingivitis or periodontitis, can have direct impact in an already swollen artery, as many studies have shown. That in cholesterol plaques which are growing and obstructing arteries, we have bacteria markers that come from the mouth. So we have to be more strict with that. And the people should be open-minded to what Dr. Mauricio was saying, like as in Holland was said. It wouldn't be strange that in Mexico people would have the same opinion. In Mexico, we have cardiologists. I cannot make an effort to test because they don't want to know if they're sick or not. Well, if you don't take care of yourself, you'll be sick, probably. But if you do take care of your body, you'll be controlled. But it's your own responsibility, not your neighbors, not the physician. or the dentist. We have to be conscious on that kind of things. Well, I only have to thank you. I think it has been such a great debate, and we need this kind of debates, and exchanging these ideas are just so helpful. Maybe we won't change the world, but in those young people who are listening, we can have this seed planted on them to get them closer to a physician and learn more. And this will benefit our patients, their patients. I would only like to say this. Many people ask, can you die from an infection on a molar? Well, yes, you could. But a bad oral health cooperates also to have an early death. And currently, we know that that medical insurances in developed countries already offer a cleanup with a dentist, because they know that someone who's in the fifth age, because we're not in the third age, but people who have a certain age with good oral hygiene will have less complications. They will spend less in drugs and medicines than someone who has a semi-damaged or swollen mouth. Thank you very much. I hope this is not the last time we speak about these interesting topics. Mauricio, my regards to San Luis. Manuel, thank you. Beatriz, thank you very much. I only have to tell you every Tuesday to thank you, to remind you that next week we're going to have an interesting program, which is called the Traveling Oral Microbiome. It will be carried out in English by YouTube Live in original audio, and we'll have the translation of Dr. Samantha Ristre from Monterrey, Mexico in Facebook Live. Dr. Michael Glick will be co-hosting with me, with Dr. Wenche. I couldn't read her last name completely, but she's a specialist in microbiome. And Samantha, thank you very much. You don't see her, but she's always there present in YouTube, translating, interpreting for all of our guests. It's 10:36. Have a great evening. See you later. Thank you. Si te lavas bien las manos, lograrás